Welcome to Relationship Builders Forum. We're going to have another conversation today. My name is Amara.
And my name is Gospel.
If you're just joining us for the first time, please hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you know when we put content out. It is great to have you today. Join this conversation series.
So today we'll be having relationship chat with two singles, Chuks and Naomi, and they're going to tell us a lot about their experience, what they think people should know about relationship. I'm sure it's going to be a wonderful time with them. What do you think?
Good. Enjoy this. I just want to welcome Naomi and Chuks. So this is like our relationship chat series, and we just felt, yes, we vlog, we've been doing YouTube, but we felt it's nice to have an insight from single people, just to gain experience, what exactly do you guys go through, and just kind of have that sort of conversation with you people. So we started off previously featuring some married couples, but then we said, you know what, there's some single folks that we really need to bring on. And that's why we kind of are highlighting you guys today. So before we start, for the benefit of those who would be watching this video afterwards, could you just introduce yourself, tell us who you are, Naomi, and then Chuks can go on. I mean, just give us a brief kind of, background of who you are, what you do, where are you now, and, what are your goals in life going forward. So over to you guys.
So do I start first, or Chuks, would you like to go first?
Yeah, Naomi, go first. Ladies first.
Okay. I think, well, you already mentioned my name, but I'm Naomi Esene, currently in Nigeria. I work with a credit guarantee company. Where I'm right now, I'm a procurement officer, but more like on technical assistance administration, or rather grant administration. Right now, I am, engaged. I only recently got engaged. So, but I don't know if that's still single, but yes, I'm single. I'm not married. My goals in life, basically, I think these things change. So I've come to understand that the world is really dynamic. So I don't have very fixed goals for now. It's to actually improve, to add some other form of business to my finance line. So I still want to be a technical assistance fund administrator, but I would want to do that for like an NGO and something bigger than where I am right now, and also to explore the fashion industry. These days we don't do just one thing anymore. We learn as we go along. So yeah, those are my goals, and yet to have a family, or to start a family, and to raise kids.
Wow, that's brilliant. I think if we extrapolate what you just said, it's going to take us an hour or more to talk about your goals and your life. But then let's hear from Chuks.
All right. So basically, I'm Chuks. I work with one of the leading banks here in Nigeria, in Lagos, Nigeria. That's where I reside. Currently single. Yeah. That's what the case is at this point. And I do a few things by side, which are basically things I'm interested in. So I have a football podcast I co-run with my friend, and we have big targets for the mid-term and long-term future, but it's still just growing. And basically, I have goals set aside to use my voice. So I think I have a very amazing voice, and it's one that is really admired when I put it to work. And I hope to get bigger roles and just put it out there for the world to see.
Wow, I can actually attest to the fact that you have a very beautiful voice. And
have you heard him sing before?
He's just done
that. No, I do not sing. I do not sing. I'm a voice actor, basically.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Could you do something then? I mean, could you?
Maybe you can do at the end of
Okay,
the conversation.
that's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah.
So,
All right.
Chuks, I just want to ask you, let's just take the conversation on. Have you been in any relationship? Do you have experience in terms of relationship, though you're single? Anyone you want to share?
Yeah, I have. I've been in a couple. So I would say, in terms when you look at it from the defined or definitive point, I've been in, I would say three of them in the past. And they all ran different length of time, but generally I'll put them at averagely a year. Averagely, that's a year.
You're single and you've been in a couple of relationships, like you said. From your point of view, what do you think are the reasons or barriers that limit young people from settling down, especially those who really want to?
Well, I'll put it generally at two things, if you ask me. And on one hand, I would say it's looking at the responsibilities that will soon follow when one decides to settle down, the financial implications of those. And on the other hand, I'll look at the trust element in relationships. So I feel generally youths or young people nowadays have a lot of trust issues. It may not be as obvious as I'm making it sound now, but in looking inward, you tend to see these things. And for those who may move past the trust barrier, then they're then hit with the next barrier, which is the financial barrier. If you look at the earning capacity of young people generally in these climes, you see that it takes what they earn and what it takes to sustain a home may not necessarily be their income may not necessarily be enough to sustain a home. And when they look at those things or that next barrier, it slows them down from taking the next step.
I like the fact that you highlighted trust. Could you just, kind of pause and explain, X-ray, when you talk about trust issues, what do you mean?
Okay, so trust issues means you have an issue or a problem trusting people. But then I'll delve into it a little bit.
Yeah.
So in terms of trust, there are two parts you have to look at in terms of trust as well. So young people, or generally in relationships, there are two parties. So I use myself and my partner, which I do not have as an example. So myself and my partner. So now, do I trust my partner enough to be faithful throughout the course of this relationship? If it's marriage, that is a lifetime. If it's just a relationship, it's for as long as it lasts. So the question is, do I trust my partner enough? There's being faithful in terms of committed to the relationship, financially, morally, and every other thing. So there are different aspects, but do I trust my partner to stay committed when things may shake, when things may look unlikely? Do I trust my partner to stay committed? There's a second part that looks at self. Now, do I trust myself enough to go into a relationship and stay committed? So it's one thing, many people focus on their partner and forget themselves. But do you trust yourself enough that whatever happens, you'd be there and stay to the promises, vows you've made in that relationship? And that's where trust comes in.
Which means sometimes because people don't trust themselves to deal with what comes in the relationship, or they don't trust their partner to be committed to the relationship, they'll rather not take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's a very critical point you've highlighted. I think the issue of money or economic or social status in terms of income and all of those have a huge role to play, like you cited. Maybe we can ask Naomi if she has anything to say on that before we ask her specifically her views.
Okay. I think for me, mainly, right, what Chicks has called trust, I would say fear for those that are actually very ready to settle down. I think it's more fear, but then you have the financial bit, and then you have the part where you do not know if this person is committed, and then you do not know if you can do this for the long run. I mean, this is the rest of your life. It's actually very scary. And, you know, life is very unpredictable. You don't know the next minute, you don't know what's happening next. For some of us, we tend to look at the statistics, right? Or we're learning to look at God now, right? Because the statistics out there is really scary, because you see this really beautiful wedding today, you know, and then the next minute, these people are at each other's throat, and you're wondering what happened, where did they miss it? So there's that fear of, I hope I don't miss it. And then even if you can keep it together, can this other person keep it together? And then there's, I think the major part is the finance bit, which usually draws people back. You're looking at, you know, your utilities, you're looking at childcare. It's a lot to think about all at once. So sometimes I think there's just that, you know, pushback, that even when you're in a committed relationship, you just want to get to a certain point of financial freedom to be able to, you know, handle this for the long run. But we've come to find out that, you know, you can't actually just attain financial freedom and be so sure of the next 2 years or the next 3 years. You know, basically we wing life, or we live life by faith.
Wow.
Yeah, Naomi, let me just ask again. You talked about the financial bit from most women. Let me not say most women, because I don't have data to support that.
Yeah, don't be gendered in your. Yeah.
Why? I didn't say gender anything. Okay, fine. Let me rephrase. From a general point of view, one could say that the issue of finance is more on the man in terms of being ready to get married. What part do you think a woman has to play in that as well?
Well, times are changing, and we know that there are times where, well, you are the support system, so you need to be ready. If for any reason anything happens to that man, you should be able to take care of the family, whatever happens. So for women, we get ready for marriage too, financially, if anything happens. But I mean, these days, people shared. Well, I'm not married yet, but people share financial responsibilities. So, I mean, with what I do now, I don't think it would be fair to bring my own burden on somebody else right now, and the person's burden. I think that's where the fear comes mostly. But if we are financially responsible as well, I don't think it would be too much of a burden on the man, and well, maybe that will reduce the whole thing, the whole fear thing, when it comes to the finance.
You go now.
Okay. So apart from fear, apart from a trust that Chuks have just highlighted, and apart from the obvious, the big elephant in the room, which is money. Apart from those, I find that some people, or young people, single people, have actually achieved money, for example, but they still have all of these issues. But apart from the issues that you mentioned, what other things can you touch on?
Okay, so another barrier is your upbringing, the family you come from. I know, personally, right? I've also had that pushback where you meet a guy, there's just this thing behind your head that's just nagging that, oh, this guy might put me in a situation where my mom is, that I don't like, right? And for some reason, you tend to fight this person, but actually you're not fighting this person. You're fighting your past. You're fighting your foundation, actually. So it's you tend to see your father in every man, and you tend to fight them, even when they're not that man, or even when they're not your father. So they tend to start to be defensive, right? But they don't know their fight. You put them on a test basically that they are not even on, and you just put them on the spot for no reason. So I think that's another problem. Foundations, actually.
Thank you so much, Naomi. So now I would go back to Chuks now and probably just ask you the same question, apart from the ones you've just highlighted, what are the barriers that you think are, obvious?
All right, thank you. So Naomi did mention foundation, and it got me thinking, upbringing and the likes. So over here in this part of the world, there's still those ethnic groups that we have existing, and people have biases towards other ethnic groups. And many a times, it doesn't even go outside of the ethnic groups. So within the ethnic groups, as small as the other tribes within, sub-tribes within the bigger group, people have negative biases towards the other tribe. An example would be within the Igbo ethnic group. I hear things like, we do not marry people from that state because people in that state do not marry outside their state. And I'm wondering, I hear things like that. So in one of my relationships, I'm from Anambra State, and I think I just spilled. I didn't want to say the state before, but I just did. So I'm from Anambra State, and I dated someone who was from another state, and she had heard that people from Anambra State do not like getting married or do not get married to people outside their state. And I'm wondering, we're all Nigerians, for starters. We're all human beings, generally. And why do we have these biases? It's rooted in years and years and years of things that have happened that we are not even aware of. But those biases do exist. And some families, some parents still uphold their positions for or against some of those biases. And these things could affect even those who are thinking about taking that next step, could then come in contact with this type of barrier. And then, boom, everything breaks down.
Wow.
That's a brilliant point you've made.
Yeah.
You want to go in?
No, go carry on.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've talked about biases in terms of in ethnic relationship and all of those. And someone out there could say to you, my problem is that I don't even have access to any potential life partner. And maybe a woman or a man, they are telling you they are ready to go. Their issue is just that they don't have access. What do you have to say about that?
So it's a tricky position for me, because I'm trying to understand the scenario or the situation in which that person really finds themselves. And I imagine someone who works an 8 to 5 and has to leave home by 5 to get to work by 8, and leaves work by 6 just to get home by 9. In this situation, Monday to Fridays are gone. You barely only interact with those you work with directly at the office. And if those people do not meet the criteria or are already taken or something, then it looks like there is no access to, you don't have access to people. But then the next thing we look at are the weekends. We have Saturdays and Sundays. On Sundays, are you a Christian? Do you go to church? Are you a Muslim? Do you go to the mosque? On Saturday, what do you do on Saturdays? Do you just stay home and relax? Do you go out to meet people? Do you go out to meet people? Or what exactly are your Saturdays like? So I understand that weekdays could really be exhausting for a lot of people, that they just want to rest on the weekends. I've been there myself. However, you have to understand that not everyone gets it easy. Not everyone has easy access, really. Where you work, you may be working with really older people and they're all married or something. And you just have to make that extra step. Look at your free time. What are you using it for? Where do you think the people that form or have the persona you are looking at being involved with? Where do you think they would be? Go to those places, relax, have fun, meet people, and maybe you just meet that person.
That's a very good point that you've mentioned. Now, I just want to touch on something else. Now, some people complain about the environment. So I'm in an environment that doesn't support me having a very good relationship, or they always blame the environment for one thing or the other. So I will ask Naomi this question. Naomi, what do you think? Do you think the environmental factor is huge? Is it significant?
I would say no. It's not significant. I spoke to someone one time and she was like, see, I'm an inside house person. Like, I don't go out. But guess what? I just went to see a friend of mine and I met my husband. Right? So I do, well, I don't even do 9 to 5, right? Before the whole corona thing, I do, well, 9 to 10 sometimes, and sometimes 11. So you don't even get to see people. And then, I work in an environment where I think we're workaholics, right? So it's just you and your business. But we have this TGIF once every quarter where we actually, have fun, right? But I mean, I work with great people. We also have time to chat sometimes. But I did not think my husband, or, I have to date someone from work. I had tried that, but it wasn't good. It was nasty, right? We didn't go far, but I just knew it wasn't great. And then I got to a point where you see the environment thing. So I was in a town. The town is quite big, right? We were torn between two churches. I had this small church that I really liked. It was, for me, I have to connect to the church where I attend. It wasn't about the people. It wasn't what I was going to get from the people. It was what I was going to get from God, right? So someone told me, how are you in a church, a small church that almost everybody's married, right? And you expect to get married, you're looking to get married. Why aren't you in this other church that is big and, you have young people there? I actually tried going to the big church. And after some time, I'm like, God, this is not nice. I came to see you, not to see a man. And if for any reason you actually want me to get married, you will bring him to this other church where I'm meeting you. So I had to make a decision. I had to be where God wanted me to be, or where I felt God, not where I wanted to get married. So I don't think the environment matters. Maybe because I'm a Christian, for me, it's all up to God.
Yeah, but let me also add to that, because, for instance, if you live in this our kind of environment where you don't even when you want to mix up with people, you don't even see them. You've been there before, and people tell you the kind of people you're looking for are not many in your environment. And people now resort to things like dating apps. So what's your take on that? Because they want to deal with the issue of environment.
Yeah, and trying to find the right person,
Do you think that's an option?
Yeah, dating apps are great. They are actually great. I mean, technology is bringing the world together, right? It's the place is getting really small because of technology, right? So for me, I support dating apps. So it's the whole idea is not to just jump into any relationship. You still have to do the checks and balances, right? So I have a friend that met her husband through a dating app, and it clicked, right? So there are many people that have also used dating apps. It still didn't work for them. So at the end of the day, you're entering into a relationship, right? It's not just it's there's so many things to consider. It's not just the feeling. It's not just, wanting to have someone. It's wanting to have a partner that you can do life with. You know, it's I don't want to say marriage is kind of like a business, but it's a partnership, definitely. So you need to find someone you're in sync with, whether you meet the person online, whether you meet the person physically. It's it doesn't matter where you meet them, which is
Wow.
why I said environment doesn't really matter. You would always find something.
All right. Is your take environment doesn't really matter? I think from what Chuks has just pointed out earlier, he also feels that environment could be a factor. Is it? Chuks, am I saying your mind?
Well, yeah, I feel environment could play a part, but not a major part.
Okay.
Could you expand on that?
Okay, so for me, like the scenario you pointed out about the peculiarities in your climbs, and I'm wondering, let's say I'm a Nigerian living in the UK, trying to meet a Nigerian. Now, I know this is a foreign land, and it's going to be relatively difficult to find first a Nigerian, and then probably a Nigerian that suits or matches my checklist, if there is one. Now, how do I find this person or people that meet that requirement that I have listed out? It's not going to be easy at work, because even if you find someone at work, there are some unspoken rules about dating at work that could affect your perception towards trying that out. Well, if you meet at church, yeah, it could work if you share the same beliefs and somehow you have a conversation that strikes something in there. But let's imagine all these options we have, or I'm listing, do not happen. How then, like my search has lasted, let me say 3 months, and now I'm getting worried because I really want to meet someone that meets that criteria and just find out more about them. Then it becomes disturbing. However, I don't necessarily have to meet someone in the UK. Now, that is where you go out of the environment, and yeah, the environment is affecting what I can do at this point. But I don't need to let that happen, and I could go outside of my environment. So we have technology helping us do that through dating apps. You could also have friends who you meet through other friends could actually become something. It could take a step further from there. And these are elements that then come into play to displace the role of the environment. And that's why I feel it may play a part, but not a very significant part.
Yeah, obviously the issue around the environment has to do with the individual and the approach the person has adopted. Wow,
Exactly.
brilliant point you guys have made.
Yeah.
You've talked about this, your checklist and ticking the box and all of those. Can you just highlight for us what you think are the key things a young man or a young woman looking to get married should look out for?
Okay, so that's tricky if you ask me, but I'll give you a shot. So personally, I do not have a list. I just use the list because I've heard people talk about lists, and I think I saw a movie titled The List. Yes. So I know people, before then I wasn't sure it was a thing, but when I saw the movie and people could relate with it, then I'm like, so there's that actual thing that people do where they make a checklist. However, I would say if you're to make one, maybe not a physical list, if it's a mental checklist, you just go through your conversations. Firstly, you have to have similar, not entirely the same, but similar beliefs. So if I'm a Christian and I want to get married to a Muslim, I do not have a problem with it. However, is there any point in time where I feel our beliefs, our religious beliefs could clash and cause us as individuals to clash? I can't say yes or no at this time because I'm not certain. But if there is, then I would say I foresee problems in the future. So why would I go into something now that could have problem in the future? So for me, I feel having same belief would be good, or similar beliefs where they do not clash from the general perspective. So from conversations, from discussions, you'll be able to see deeper into what that person's belief is all about. Then I know some people look at physical attributes, and some people say they have a spec here. So whatever your spec is mentally, whoever, like the physical build that you're attracted to, you definitely look out for that. So if you're attracted to really slim ladies, you wouldn't be looking to marry someone who is my size. If you're attracted to ladies that are my size, you wouldn't be looking to date someone who is slim. Well, personally, I do not really have a spec as is, but I tend towards a certain direction and I try and stay there. So I wouldn't.
You're being so diplomatic with your answer, like towards the second
Yeah, and
direction.
I'm trying not to say it as well, because I don't know who is watching. Really, my wife could be seeing this as well. So let me not chase her away before she even comes around.
Yeah.
So there are a few things as such. Then trust. I know trust is a very strong one. I do not know how you can check trust, but if you have that level, if you have some comfort when dealing with that individual, then I feel there's an element of trust there that you could work with. But trust is definitely important.
Wow.
You want to ask Naomi?
No, I want Naomi. I mean, do you want to add to probably what Chuks have said, because very interesting points have been raised, and I'm kind of loving this.
Yeah, if you have a spec, you let us know as well.
Okay. Well, on the checklist thing, I'm not really a checklist person. I used to be, until I found out that, I was being unfair to people, right? I mean, this is who they are. So yes, I think for me, it's more of a teachable person, because we all have different beliefs, we all have different values, we didn't grow up in the same home, so there are so many things I've had to unlearn, and there's so many things I've had to learn. So I think for me, the most important thing is having someone who is, teachable. And for guys, right, I don't know, well, I mean, both ways, because when we grow older, I mean, we have physical body changes. I mean, when I was younger, there were so many things that I could do. Right now, I can't do them. And I tend to warn my fiance that, hey, please, my life has changed greatly. I don't know what it will be like in the next 10 to 20 years, right? And then, you have the slim, looking Agbani lady. After baby one, we become like Chuks, and then, we graduate, so how do you now cope with these changes? So the list is not really static. You just need to be dynamic. For me, you just need to be dynamic. I'm open-minded, actually.
Obviously, even though you're saying it has to be dynamic, there should be some core elements.
Some benchmark.
Okay, let's ask the question she wanted to ask before.
Yeah.
That will help us either say yes or no in this regard. Do you have deal breakers for a relationship?
Oh, definitely.
Can you share with us, please?
It still boils down to the teachability thing, right? So once I find a guy that is too domineering, or it has to be my way, and the man kind of thing, it puts me off, right? You need to be able to see me as a human being. You need to be able to communicate. You need to be able to hear me. So for me, that's number one deal breaker. Number one. And then there's this thing about, having your ADA, right? He's in charge. So there's a difference between a dictator and a leader. Both of them would lead, but they would lead differently. So for me, you have a leader, you have a dictator. So I still want to see that leadership quality in the guy, but not, pushing it down my throat that, hey, I'm the leader or I'm the man of the house kind of thing. So those are the kind of, that's my number one deal breaker anyway. The other things that I don't know, like, they're not very specific. I mean, people are different. You see something that you may not like about the person, and you know that I obviously can't deal with this. And then I don't like people that are unforgiving. There's something Raji told me one time, right? People said I'm argumentative. He said, no, I think she's opinionated. So I held on to that. So, yeah, I am opinionated. And it's hard for me to find someone who doesn't listen to me, at least hear me, right? So we can come to compromise about something. So I think it still boils down to just the person being teachable and not, being a dictator. That's the deal breaker for me.
Okay, before I ask Chuks, you will ask him, but let me ask Naomi this one. If you have a guy, like now you're engaged, like you said, and you introduce him to your mom or your family members and they say, no, we don't like him, and you don't even know why they don't like him, will you still go ahead and get married to him?
Well, my family is very important to me. There's something I would have seen, and fortunately, I have a very liberal family. Unfortunately, my dad is passed now, but he would ask you, do you like this person? If you like the person, does he treat you well? Yes, he's fine. I tell people that if I brought someone from, Mars, all my father wants to know is that you are fine with this person. So I just don't have that problem. I've not experienced it, but, my mom told me something. She was like, oh, where is he from? Oh, if he's from this tribe, I won't agree. And I'm like, hey, mommy, who's getting married here? And she was like, well, it's you, but my opinion matters. I was like, whose opinion matters most? She was like, well, yours. I was like, great, well, good.
So, and what if she had said, no, over my dead body, you're doing this?
My mom is quite easy, actually. She'll be fine.
You don't want to be in that position. That's why you're moving around. Okay.
Yeah. So Chuks, now tell us, for you, what are your deal breakers like in the relationship? These are like, no, I can't deal. Like this, no way.
So for me, it's okay. I'll look at it at 2 points. So the point is before and during. So some things can't happen until you're already in it. And I'll start from during so I can reverse backwards into the rest. So for me, one thing that I definitely would not work with if I'm in a relationship is breach of trust, whatever form it comes in. It could be, well, generally, the one I look at is cheating, generally. That's one very big one for me. And I think many people would consider this a deal breaker. Many people would. However, there's some other forms of breaches that could occur. I hear about people going to I hear about people sometimes maintaining different accounts. I think this is even at a very further point, maintaining different accounts. So their partners do not know they carry out some certain type of transactions for different reasons. It could be that if those transactions are seen, it could lead to them finding out about something else, which could be cheating, which could be any other thing. So they maintain that sort of position on their transactions. There's no problem in me not knowing the exact balance you have, but it would be nice to have a good understanding of what you're doing. Not tomorrow the police comes to my door and knocks and says, "We're looking for your wife," or "We're looking for XYZ person who you're in a relationship with." So it would be good to have a good understanding of what goes around in terms of finances. Now, reversing to before the relationship, what would I consider a deal breaker? So, so I'm really not a difficult person to please, if you ask me. But I'll toe the line Naomi mentioned, which is people who are not teachable. So I've been accused of being unteachable, and now it's like, wow, so you would not date yourself. But I think, I'm not certain, but I think I'm moving past that. First of all, I argued about being that for a long time, but I said maybe me arguing about it is proof that I'm actually unteachable. I said, okay, maybe I am. Let me work on it. And it's one of the things I think people should look at generally. Because if you're not looking towards learning, people definitely have different upbringing, different experiences. So these experiences affect how they view life generally and other things that happen to them as they go forward. So if I have a different view from someone, it shouldn't be my view is a better perspective than yours. Yours may actually be, and I should be open to listening and learning. At some point, it's not a bad idea to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
If it comes to that point. But it shouldn't be, no, my perspective is superior to yours. So I think before the relationship, that is something I'll definitely be looking out for.
Wow, that's brilliant point you've made.
Yeah.
I think your deal breakers will resonate with a lot of people, because no one wants to be in a relationship with someone you don't trust.
Yeah.
Even though some people tell you that trust may not be 100%, but at least you have peace of mind that what we are doing together.
No surprises.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like you telling me that you had a child before we got married, and I didn't know.
Yeah. Like literally, like 11 years after we married.
And maybe one day someone walks into the door. I'm 10, say 15 years old, and who are you? I'm looking for my mom. Who is your mom? I was told that
she lives here. Yeah. So that would be very surprising.
So no matter how we build the relationship to this point,
yes,
it will be heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So I understand your point. And I also think Naomi will also agree with you in terms of trust issues.
I wanted to ask Chuks, because
okay.
I think now he's still very much single and still, searching. So Chuks, if you were to tell us now, what's your unique selling point as a dude, like this fresh guy?
Who is this Chuks?
Yeah, who's this guy? Yes, exactly. So what would you say to someone that this is what I would bring to the table,
Well, when I look at myself in the mirror, what do I see? So I look at the mirror and I see a very smart individual with a very, very mind-blowing mind. That's mind-blowing, if you ask me. And someone who has a voice that is sellable. He doesn't only have a voice that is sellable, he's also moving up in the career ladder and has high prospects in that regard. So you're looking at someone who, in the next 5, 10 years, could be sitting at decision tables. Not just decision tables, also have a podcast that its reach is not only within Africa, but the shores of the world. Now, aside from that, there is a voice you come home to every day that is sold on television, and it's kept for just you when you return. So tell me, Wouldn't you rather bank with us?
Wow.
Fantastic. Wow.
This is actually mind-blowing because I need to go and see your podcast.
Yes. Now you got me interested now. Really interested. So we have to actually see it.
Yes. Obviously, I like football. I don't want to ask you the team you support because that may be a point of conflict. But I will check it out.
I think it looks like a Man U fan.
No way, does it?
Yes, I am.
I got it right.
No way.
Yeah, sorry.
You lost me there.
All right. Now enough about football. Now
Okay,
you guys are
fine.
getting all excited. Now let me ask now Naomi now, because we're kind of wrapping up now. Naomi, because there are a lot of young ladies out there, and some people feel like, I'm not getting married, it's the end of the world, oh, he broke my heart, and now I'm not really ready for another relationship. What would you say? I mean, what's your word of wisdom to young ladies out there that have been through heartbreaking relationship and they're looking out to restart their life over?
Mm-hmm. To get to the point where you are now, that someone is about to,
commit.
Someone has committed.
Oh, someone has committed. Yeah.
They're about to, let me not say what it is.
Yeah. So tell us.
Okay. So I have been there like time and time again. So yes, this is my personal advice. It may work for you, it may not work for you. It's I think we have lived our lives as ladies, Nigerian, or I don't know about Africa, Nigerian children or Nigerian female children. We were all prepared for marriage from a very young age. So our lives have been centered around, we need to be this, we need to be that to get married, until I grew up. And then marriage wasn't coming. And then I realized that I have a life other than marriage. I realized I had a life other than another human being. And I had my own purpose, right? It was a bit frustrating trying to get married when what God needed me to do was be Naomi in the world where he had placed me. So I would say concentrate on being who you are and fulfilling your God-given purpose. Marriage is an institution ordained by God, and if he wants you to be there, he will definitely make a way for you to be there. And so in getting into relationships, don't be too hard on yourself, or don't, turn into a pop quiz tutor, or I don't know, whatever it is. Go into every relationship with an open mind. Well, so there's this thing about, jumping into relationships with the thought of, this guy has to be my Prince Charming, he has to be this, he has to be that, my knight in shiny armor. At some point, you need to learn to be your knight in shiny armor so that you can appreciate somebody else being your knight in shiny armor, so you don't break the person's neck, actually. So first of all, or mostly, it's concentrate on being you. Learn to build yourself. It was something I think God wanted me to learn first. I had to get to the point of learning to be myself and learning to accommodate someone else and not just accommodate the whole idea of being in love and loving someone. So mostly it's just build yourself, and so you can fit into this, how they say you are the missing rib, right? Mm-hmm. So you can fit in perfectly because you're just not well formed right now. So it doesn't matter how long it takes. Marriage is not the ultimate. The ultimate is you fulfilling your purpose. And if you concentrate on that, it would help it go a long way to help you in managing your expectations when it comes to marriage.
Wow, thank you so much. I also want to ask the same question to Chuks. What advice would you give to young people out there, singles who are also looking for settling down anytime soon? What do you think you would advise them to do?
Well, it's nothing different from what Naomi has said. It's just about you focusing on being you, getting better every day, trying to be a finer version of yourself, and don't bother about any other thing. Just focus on you. And whilst you do that, along the way, you meet that person. So the person you may be looking for, or the person that has been ordained for you, depending on your beliefs, could be out there. But because you're not at that level where you want to be, or where you can be seen by this person, you guys never get to meet. So it's about you working on you, getting better, looking at the things you love doing them more often. And somewhere along the line, these two moving trains would connect. And then something beautiful could be born.
Great.
Wow. Thank you so much for the rich conversation we've had. And in fact, we could go on and on asking you questions. And in fact, I would also say we have to bring you guys back to this platform again, because I know you have a lot
to offer.
Knowledge and experience to share. Thank you. Thank you, Chuks.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Wow. It was lovely having Naomi and Chuks in today's conversation. Wow. It was kind of very enriching.
Very rich
very
conversation.
enriching.
Yeah.
Wow. So I would just, ask you guys if there's something they probably missed, something you think that they should have touched on, please, could you put it down in the comment section below and just let us know? I would say it's fantastic to have had all of you join this conversation as well today. Please, if you're new to this channel, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you know when we put content out. If you have a story that you think people would need to hear this, please let us know. Message us and let us know, and then we would have a conversation about that.
Until the next episode, it is
Goodbye from us.